Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, boxing and MMA fans from around the world. Introducing from Bassett, California, the third man in the ring, Popeye Ray.
Hey, welcome to Third Man in the Ring. I'm your host, Popeye Ray. So today we got an awesome interview, man. In my opinion, this is one of the top commentators in the world. I'm sure you'll recognize him. Let me just read off a couple of his. This guy's been the play-by-play host since 2000. He's been with Golden Boy. He's with Golden Boy, with DAZN. He was with, he's commentator on Thompson, Marv Nation, CBS for 3 years. Oh, wait up, I guess he's not perfect. He was with the Chargers, but that's another story. But I remember him on the Rams. So I want you to give a warm welcome to my friend, your friend, the best commentator, Beto Duran.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? Thank you for coming on, bro.
We're finally doing it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Look at you. That's a good intro right there.
Thank you, brother.
So, I'm happy for you, man. This is legit, man. I remember when you started the podcast, asking me some questions, and you're like, I'm going to get you on one day.
Yeah.
And finally, the schedules work out.
Exactly. So where are you at today, Beto?
Let's see. I'm at the Ben Lira's gym.
That's right.
Hopefully he doesn't beat me up, that young man. So I work for, right now, ESPN Radio. I do the Lakers.
That's right.
Pre-game
I forgot to
and
say.
the post-game. I used to work at CBS too, and that's where you would see me do the Rams post-game show. But now on Sundays, I get to go to the games. So when I was at CBS, I had to be in the studio, so you couldn't be at the game. So now I'm doing some stuff for ESPN Radio for the game. So I'm jack of all trades, man. I'm like the last-minute boxer that gets called up. Hey, can you make weight tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, like
that's right.
The guys who fight,
but
like
you always step up.
You step up, and they'll fight like at different weight classes. That's me. Whatever job you got, I'm there for you, man.
So hey, tell the fans. How did Beto start? Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Carson, still there. Mom and dad still there. Mom and dad from Mexico, 7 kids. I'm number 5 of 7. And for the boxing people in Southern California, you'll know Fabella Chavez Boxing Center.
Oh yeah.
That's where I still go work out there. The local gym, and I never boxed, but I played all the sports, and I used to work at the park. So like this gym we're at right now, the local gyms you would have around Southern California, like I would see the boxers there. And I was like, that looks cool. I was always a fight fan. You know, Mexican kid, you're always a fight fan. Like the tios are throwing the parties, or the neighbors have Chavez fights, the Oscar fights. So I was always a fight fan. And then how I got into boxing was, I was working at ESPN Radio in the 2000s. They used to do fights at the Nokia Theater. Yeah. Right there, LA Live. Yeah. So our radio studios are at the same building as LA Live, across from Staples Center at the time. So they would do fights at Nokia, at Club Nokia. And I would go there as a member of the media watching it, and I was like, this is cool. So I would have credentials as a member of the media. I'd go to the fights and check it out. And then how I got into the play-by-play was, this was in 2013. They were looking for another announcer. Remember, this is before streaming, before the apps, before YouTube. Yeah. And they were looking for a backup announcer, because they had that show. Remember, they used to be on Fox, Golden Boy on Fox. It was all over the country. Barry Tompkins was doing it. And they were like, hey, we might need somebody as a backup in case one day. You want to audition? And I auditioned, and they're like, cool, we like you, we like your style, but this is the job though. You're in case, it's like a swing belt. You might go on, right?
Might go on.
So I auditioned, I kept on practicing, and then they're like, hey, okay, in a couple of months we have a fight for you. There's a thing called the international feed. So if you're watching, at that time, HBO, it was Jim Lampley, Max Kellerman, Emmanuel Stewart. Right?
Well, that's what I mostly remember.
Yeah, so you know them, but then there's the international feed that goes to the rest of the world. So Lampley and Max would only be in the United States. The international feed goes to like Australia, goes to South Africa, goes to the Middle East where the military is at. So the whole, you never see us, but you hear us. So that's why you would see me at the fight. You're like, okay, what's that guy doing there? Like, so Lampley was in the front, or Showtime was in the front, and I'm sitting in the back. That was the international feed. So I did that for a couple of years, and it was just fun. And then all of a sudden the streaming picked up, and that's where I give Oscar a lot of credit. That's when they moved the shows to Belasco. And that's when he started the Ring TV. We would do stuff on YouTube, and that's where like we started doing more and more.
So
and
you
more.
have no education?
No,
broadcasting then?
No, I do. I went to school. I was a journalism major. In high school, I was the kid that went to school with the newspaper. Like I was, like I would have the sports page. I was a paper boy for the Daily Breeze. So I used to be a paper boy, and I would read the sports page. And then in high school, I was like the editor of the school paper. So like I was always writing. I didn't know I wanted to do this. Like I didn't know that you could actually get into this. So like I wanted to be in sports, But, you know, there's no examples of anybody else. Like, the only Latino who's out there was Mario Solis and Bernardo Osuna. And that was it.
Yeah.
And so...
And with that said, that's why it's not so much saying that oh, my raza, but it's cool to see my raza.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean?
Everybody was like, oh, so I took a journalism class at El Camino College, and the professor was like, you're a good writer. I was like, I am? I didn't know. Because I was like, I thought I was gonna be like a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. I mean, I talk a lot, so I'll be a lawyer, you know? But I took a journalism class. I got an internship with CNN in 2000. And then like during the Democratic Convention, and then my job was just to show people around like how to do stuff. And then I started working at ESPN Radio, like the dude hustling from the beginning, like throwing out the t-shirts and driving the van and like washing the car, whatever you needed.
So you put in your work, you didn't just, you know.
Nah, I mean, it's the thing is like, I didn't know what I was really doing, but you know, we opened the door a little bit, I'm gonna kick it down. And then 24 years later, we're still here, bro.
Exactly,
so it's like my 10th year in boxing. So that's it, that's the fun part, man.
And you know what? I'm not just blowing smoke. You're an awesome commentator,
Appreciate
bro.
it,
You really bring that action to it. Just like when I would see you on the ramps.
Yeah.
Besides being humorous and being a good commentator, you knew the game.
Well,
you know
that's the most important
thing. That's my team.
Yeah.
Ram, bro.
Oh, I know you.
That's why when I seen the Chargers, I go, oh, so he's not perfect. Hey, whatever.
So when the Chargers moved to LA, they needed somebody for their postgame show. So I was, they hired me out.
They forced you? I'm joking.
Hey, let me tell you, the NFL money, that's good money right there.
Good for you, bro.
Yeah, so that was good right there. And then, but like I said, I was doing it, but nobody knew I was doing it, so it's all right.
Keep that on the down low.
Yeah, but like you and your Rams and like everybody, a lot of the California Commission, big Rams fans.
Yeah,
like
we're all Rams fans.
Yeah.
A lot of De La Hoya's boys are Rams fans.
Everybody out there. So yeah, it's good to see, man.
So how was your upbringing though? I mean, did you have a good, I mean,
man.
I want to get personal. I want the fans to know that.
No, so like so I grew up in Carson, and I was like the smart kid, right? Because
of the family or just?
Oh no, I'm not the smart one of the family, but I was like the smart kid in the class. Our family, like we have like, but you know, I don't want to make it seem like I grew up with bad people, but you grew up in the neighborhood, and it's like you just know who's, you know, you just know who's gonna go which way, right? And like you know which kids' families have roots in that way. So like my mom was like strict, and it was like, you know, kids would play football on the street.
For mom, man.
Yeah, they would play football on the street. And I just thought these are my friends, right? And then all of a sudden, people were like, my mom was seeing me in the street playing football, like, Beto, métete.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was like, get in, and I'm like, these are my, then now you realize like, oh, because we like knew that kid.
Where they ended up.
Yeah, and like those guys are still my friends. It's funny, like a 4th of July on the block, ran into a couple the friends, and they were like, man, your mom was mean. She would never let you go anywhere.
That was love.
And I was like,
that was love.
She's like, and they said the same thing. They're like, nah, but she looked out for you. And it was like, so I don't want to say like I grew up with bad kids, but you just knew there was you just knew that you had, like I always tell a story, like when we started high school, I think 9 of us walked to high school, maybe 10 of us, and like 3 of us graduated. But everybody knew that I was gonna be like the smart one. Like in junior high, when the rivals.
Is it fair to say that school was all easy for you?
Yeah, it was. It was because I was more scared of my mom than the cholos. Like, it was like, but like I also had the older brother. Like my brother was a principal, another brother was construction. My sisters all. So you just had the example of like
worth ethic.
Yeah. So you come home from school, you go deliver the newspaper, then you play in sports, and then there's no time to mess around. But like you just knew, like in junior high, when you know, like kids get kicked out of other schools and they come to other schools, then you're with your neighborhood, right? So you just knew, like, okay, my friends were gonna get in a fight. Beto would be there, but they just knew that Beto wasn't jumping in. I'm like,
that's right.
Again, I'm more scared of my mom.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was like I would be there, and this is how I was an early reporter, right? Because when the fights would happen,
you were commentating already,
dude. You know, I kid you not. Yeah. Because they would come afterwards and be like, all right, Beto, who jumped in? And I'm like, oh, that guy jumped in, that guy jumped in. I wasn't snitching, I was just reporting. I was reporting, right? And it was like, they were like, dude, how do you remember this? And I'm like, oh, he did that. Because I would just be there, right? So my sister Gloria would tell you this, like she's 2 years younger than me, and after school, you just knew where the fights were gonna be at. And we'd go watch, and then but like school got out at 3, we had to be home by 3:30. My mom knew how long it took you to walk, and there was a couple times where we were watching, like, oh, those were good ones, and we look, we're like, so me and her are running to make sure you get home by 3:30. If you're after 3:30, ¿dónde estaban? And I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, so like I knew the kids who were up to no good, and I knew the smart kids, but
you were cool with all of them.
I was cool with everybody.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Carson is like it's so diverse. So you have the Samoans, the blacks, the Filipinos, the white guy. Everybody was gonna eventually you're gonna have some kind of race fight. but I wasn't getting involved. I was like,
part of growing up.
Yeah,
pretty much, man.
That's why I always tell people, like, you got to know everybody from everywhere. You can't be, if you're going to be a smart kid, you got to make sure you know some bad kids.
All cultures.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just knew not to get in trouble. Like I said, to this day, my mom's 82 and like 5 foot. I'm still scared of her.
Yeah. I don't really have a relationship with my parents, but where was Dad? If you don't mind
my dad was working all the jobs. My dad was...
So again, you had that work ethic.
Yeah, so my dad was the machinist in the morning. I just remember my dad would leave like at 3 in the morning to go deliver newspapers, then come home, get something to eat, and then he'd go to be a machinist. He would make airplane parts, and then come home, and then my mom would like make him food. My mom didn't work till later, but she would make him food, and then at night we'd go with him to like clean offices. I remember this in elementary. We would clean like a Marine office, and like it's like the 80s, so you're there and you're like, you see, that's why when everybody smoked inside. So there was like the ashtrays. That's why I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, because that smell of the ashtray just nasty. And I was like, just remember it was a Marine office. I don't know where, but we would help clean the offices, man. It was just, so my dad was just the working, typical Mexican, right? Like, go to work, give my mom the check, she takes care of the kids, and there it is.
And brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so like I said, there were 7 of us. The first 4 were born in Mexico. I was the first one born here. So I remind them, I'm like, I made you guys citizens, right?
That's right.
But that's the joke. But like, everybody's successful. Everybody has a good family. Everybody good stuff, man. You know, like, it's hard. Like, 2-bedroom house, 1 bathroom. So like, you don't really remember the struggle because I was little.
You thought it was just a norm, right?
Like the older kids start talking and they're like, nah, this sucked. And I'm like, we were little. We're like, oh, it was fine. But it was,
think nothing of it.
It was a lot of like, a lot of tough love. Like, you just do your job, do what we tell you, don't mess around. But I was always, my brother worked at the park. It's like the local rec center, so I was always at the park playing sports. So if it was football season, basketball season, soccer, whatever it was, I was always playing.
That explains your knowledge of.
Yeah.
I can't get into basketball, bro.
Yeah.
I just can't, you know. But yeah, that explains your commentator skills, man.
Yeah. So like, I would always see, like in Carson, there was always a big Cinco de Mayo festival, and they would always have a boxing amateur show. So like the different gyms would come, and I'd always be the one watching like the fights going on. So I've always loved watching boxing. And it's been a great ride, man. I get to meet so many cool people with it. Like, I've done professionally, I've worked every single major sporting event, like the Super Bowl, World Series, NBA Finals. But there's nothing like a Vegas fight, man. Like a Vegas fight.
Can't beat that.
I tell everybody, you don't even have to be a fight fan, but when you're there at like a big mega fight,
how's it say the aura of it? Yeah.
You get the chills, man. Like, and even just like a big fight, like it doesn't matter which side you're like, damn. But then you work a local show, a club show, and I still get excited for it because they're fun. I still get that excitement for it, man.
Exactly. So where did the education, did it end at high school or?
No, I went to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then all of us.
Still up in the air, commentating wasn't.
That wasn't it. So all of us went to El Camino Junior College because there's not much money. And then I remember telling my brother, like, I want to go to university. And he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, go to junior college because it's cheaper. Figure out what you want to do. And then I took the classes, and then I wasn't a good student because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I would take a class and I'd drop it, take a class, drop it. And then I took a journalism class, and that's what the professor was like, you're really good at this, at writing. So I was like, well, how do you get a job as a writer? Like, I don't know. Like, I'd read the paper, but I didn't know. Like, my friends or their dads were like blue collar, working, construction, or
so you
driving.
Had no,
there was like nobody you could talk to like that.
Yeah, no mentor, so to speak.
Yeah, you can't really go and say like if you want to be a carpenter, okay, my carpenter. If you want to be a doctor, you know somebody, whatever, lawyer, whatever. I didn't know no reporter, and then But with me, it's like once I have my goal and I know what I want to do, then it's on. But after that, it's like, let's just go. Figure out a way to make it happen.
That's right. And through all this time, personal life, we married.
I was married. I got 2 great kids. I was married for a while. She's a wonderful woman. And then, things didn't work out, but that's, but she's great. My son's in college. My daughter's in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. So you've seen my son running around.
Yeah.
He was the intern for Golden Boy this summer. He's on the East Coast. And then same thing. Took the kids to the fights. And early on at Velasco, my son Mateo was like, all right, you're gonna come with me. Let's go. Help Razo get the bucket, get the towels, do this, do that.
Nothing wrong with the little hard work.
Nah, and he was helping Pablo Rubio. He would help him with the ring, taking stuff out. I'm like, dude,
I remember that.
Let's go. You want a couple bucks? Help
So
out.
he's in college right now?
Yeah, he's a sophomore in college playing basketball on the East Coast, like at a small university in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
And daughter?
Daughter's going to be a freshman in high school. She plays soccer. So she's one of those, like, I take her to the fight sometimes, and then when she's little, she's like, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring. Sitting there like this, right? Yeah. And then you hear her talking to her friends, like, oh, my dad was at this fight, my dad was at this. I'm like, but she won't give me any credit.
Because your dad, bro.
Exactly. And she's like, I don't want to go, okay. And then it's like, hey, Dad, can I get a hoodie? And I'm like, all of a sudden.
Right, yeah.
So things are good, man. Knock on wood, yeah.
Thank God, man. So as you're becoming the commentator, obviously you're being seen more and more over the world. Yeah. I mean, you got any crazy, sad, I don't know about sad, but like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, you know what? This,
I mean, you don't have to say no names, but pretty much, I know not everything's a perfect sailing world.
So one of the things that, this is why, if you ever listen to me commentate, and people tell me like, man, I don't care about this, I always give the background of the opposing fighter, wherever they come in from, especially if they're the B-side guy, they come in.
Yeah.
Because now with streaming and everybody can watch everything on YouTube, right? Like, so there might be a guy fighting in Chile and their family might be watching. Before you couldn't be, right? Before you only show the first 4 fights, and now they show everything. So I always want to give the background of who these fighters are and respect to them when they're showing up. So I've been lucky enough to call fights in Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, like.
And you're bilingual, right?
Bilingual, yeah. So I work in English, but then I can translate in Spanish if I need to. I've never done fights in Spanish because that's too damn hard. Yeah. But I can do the translating as best as I can. But just going to these different countries, or when these fighters come from different countries and they hear, and you could tell that they're scared, right? Because think about it. You're like a fighter who just got called on 2 days notice and you're like living in Oaxaca or Guanajuato and you show up and you're like in LA and you're
different continent, whole different world.
And it's like how professional California is compared to some other places. Like I remember doing a fight in Playa del Carmen where literally it wasn't the ones they showed on TV, but you see the promoter go like, no, not you. Okay, we're gonna switch it. Now you guys are fighting each other. Like, I'm like, what the hell's going on here, right? And it happens like that. And these guys are just so hungry for it. But the saddest thing I've ever been involved with, that's why I always give a lot of credit, anybody ever gets in the ring, because you never know. Pritchard Colon, he was a Puerto Rican fighter. And you see, and he got hit in the back, rabbit punches.
9 times, bro.
And the fight ended, and then it was a weird.
Commentated?
No, I didn't do that. I did the fights before that. 2 fights before that, we were in Puerto Rico. And it was like Diga time. Great kid, great personality. I think he was like 160 maybe. You're like, okay, this kid's gonna be something. Because Golden Boy was showing his fights, and then when Golden Boy and Al Heyman split up, he went with Heyman, so that's why we didn't see him anymore. But I remember we just had like this great personality, and now you see how he is. You know, every now and then his brother puts those stuff on social media about how Pritchard is still, like suffering. And like that was a kid where you're just like, damn, like he was undefeated, he was on the brink of doing something. It's like, that's why you could never ever talk bad about a fighter as a commentator. You can never say, what's he doing in there? Because that man has the balls enough to get in there, or woman has enough heart to get in there into that ring. They might have be 0-20, but they're in there and I'm not. So like, why would I ever put anybody down that goes in there? That's my responsibility as a commentator.
And it's crazy that you bring that up. In my fight instructions, in the dress room, I always bring up, watch the rabbit punches. And these are my exact words. We all know Pritchard Colon's story. And you know what? I don't know, fans, if you look it up on YouTube, Pritchard Colon fought, it's probably been like 6 years now, no?
No, longer than that. It might be 8-9 years, something like that.
He fought. Shame on this referee, and this is me saying it. Shame on this referee. I counted 9 times, straight, flagrant, 9 times shots to the back of the head, was never warned. When Colon went and took revenge and hit him one time, the referee took a point from Pritchard Colon. And the ending story is Pritchard Colon went into he had a brain bleed, no?
Brain bleed, like he's a vegetable pretty much now.
And you know what, now he's bedridden, wheelchair ridden. It's just a sad story, And
he was an undefeated fighter, and that fight.
Great fighter, man.
That fight was funny because it was on TV during the afternoon, and he like took off his gloves, and it was still another round to go. There was a lot of confusion, and you're like, And then he had a seizure afterwards in the locker room, and then that was it. So that's why, as a commentator, I always want to give enough respect to everybody, of course. Like, everybody makes a big deal about the star, but it's like that dude's 18 and 24, the opponent coming in, like, you don't know what's going on. That's why I want to give credit to them for showing up, man.
Yes.
That's why I always go and talk to everybody.
So, I got some questions for you.
Let's go.
So what's the most, besides Pritchard, what's the most memorable fight that you've done in the past? I can't talk about upcoming because I'm official. But.
No, so in the past, okay, I know it's gonna sound corny to say this, but every single fight is special for me because every single time I'm doing a fight, I get to say, this is awesome, this is amazing. I'm living a dream right now to be a commentator. That's the cheesy part, right? But now if you have me rank it, I did the first 2 Canelo Triple Gs. That's when streaming was just starting. It was myself, Doug Fisher, and the first fight was, I believe we had Lennox Lewis with us. So the Canelo Triple G was amazing, talking about the chills that you get when you hear the national anthem, and then you get done, then you have Triple G's fans, because that was the one where you had the Mexicans that were Triple G fans, and it was just, that was at T-Mobile. It was like, T-Mobile had just opened up, right? So it was huge. So that was... We
had our very own Ben Lira in the corner with Triple G,
Yeah, so that was like amazing. And like, that one we got done, and I turned around, and I'm like, wow. And I'm like,
and that was built up for years, that fight.
Yeah, and then the one that's like special for me is when Canelo knocked out Amir Khan. So I was on the broadcast doing the international broadcast, like I was explaining earlier, and that was a fight where Khan was doing well, but Canelo's kind of whatever. And if you hear the highlight to this day, you'll hear, oh, a big shot from Canelo knocks out, a big shot from the Mexican knocks him out. That's my voice doing the highlight of that, because they used that highlight for a lot of the Canelo, and it was just a big monster knockout of Khan where he went down. That's cool, but everything's cool. Like, everything's been great. But I can tell you, anytime you go to a Vegas, it's just different. And you know, a Canelo weekend is just crazy. I was never around for the Chavez's, stuff like that, but it just brings out.
Too young for that.
Yeah, but like, I've heard the stories, right? I've heard of them. And then just when you're like, this is what it must have been like. I never went to an Oscar fight, so I can only imagine what that was like. But for me personally, the Canelo Triple G was just crazy.
Canelo's always a top attraction, bro.
Yeah, man. It's he's different. Having known him before he was like Canelo, right? Yeah. It's just, you see the rise of him when he would pretend like he didn't know any English, and I'm like, man,
cut it out.
He knew for years. He knew for years. He finally speaking it though, but he always knew.
So growing up, who were your favorite fighters back then?
So my brother Gabriel would always like tape fights, and he would show them VHS, and he would put them on. So I would have. This is what I remember watching as a kid. There was a fight that he taped. It was Roberto Duran knocked out or beat Iran Barkley. The Blade Barkley.
Awesome fight, man.
And that was like, that was one of the first ones that I remember him having a VHS and putting it in. And that's what I remember, the VHS used to put the little stickers on the side, and that was on there. And then Channel 4, they used to always show, remember, the Fight Doctor, Ferdy Pacheco?
Yeah.
Like those are the fights that, like, we didn't have cable. There were 7 kids. There was like, we were watching Univision and Telemundo, their novelas. We didn't have cables. Everybody talks about these Tuesday night fights. I never saw those. Or like the forum fights, I never saw those. On YouTube, I checked it out. But whenever Channel 4 or Channel 7 would have fights, that's when I would watch it as a little kid. So I always remember the name Ferdy Pacheco when he would have fights.
Yeah, Ferdy Pacheco.
And they would have like in Channel 7, like they would have like the Saturday afternoon fights, like that's what I remember as a kid. And then of course, then you see the Mexican fights that night.
Yeah, and going back to then, were you watching football at this time?
Yeah, I was watching everything, bro. I was like, I would like my brother's a big influence. So like, both of them, and like we would have he would have Sports Illustrated delivered to the house.
Oh yeah.
So I would read.
That was the magazine.
That was the magazine. I would read Sports Illustrated. Like it would show up like on Wednesdays, and I'd get home from school before my brother, and I'd read it before even he read it. So I was like, I read it all. I would just read. I just loved everything. So like anytime there was any sports,
it had everything, hockey,
everything.
Anything in sports, it had it. Right?
Yeah, I would just. It's like the Dodgers were on Channel 11, the Lakers were on Channel 9, and you just always watch everything, like you could, whenever we could, because my older brother was number 1 in the family, so whatever he wanted to watch on TV, my sisters couldn't say no. So if he would leave, then they're like, they put whatever they want. I was like, I want to watch this. They're like, no.
Hey, want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Rivera Towing. Did you know in 2023, they were the top towing service in the Inland Empire? And they serve all of Southern California. But I want to give a shout out to Rivera Towing. You need them, tell them Popeye Ray sent you. But at the same time, he's venturing out. He's opening up his own sports bar, and it's going to be called Ringside Bar. They're going to have boxing, MMA, but the bar is shaped like a ring. That's crazy, guys. The bar is shaped like a ring. Keep your ears out for the grand opening. It's going to be in Lake Elsinore. They're going to have food, alcohol, the whole thing, man. A DJ. They're going to have boxing, MMA, football, baseball, every kind of sport. But check them out. That's going to be Rivera Towing, and they're owner of soon-to-be Ringside Bar. Were your sisters involved in sports?
They all played. They were all athletic. They did stuff, but they weren't like into it like the way I am. But like everybody, like we're a sports family. Like we're all active. Everybody played some kind of something.
And mom supported you with the.
My mom was just like,
just don't get in trouble.
Just
right?
don't get in trouble, and you got there. Like I said, right? Just get here. Like it was never like my parents didn't go to my games when I was a kid because they were working. They were my dad was working, and my sisters were little, so my mom was watching my little sister. So, like, I've never been like, oh, you weren't there for me. I was like, no, I know where you're at. You're working. Like, that's what you got to do.
That's showing support. You came home to a warm meal.
It was food. I had tortillas, bro.
That's all you need. Tortillas, rice and beans.
Yeah, I want McDonald's now. I frijoles, right?
Put it in a bun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, it's fun, man. It was good.
So how did the football thing come about?
So I was because I grew up here and there was no football because they left when I was in junior high. So the Rams left, the Raiders left, and then so when they came back. I was just like, I'm like, okay, the NFL's huge, bro. Like, I don't have a favorite team because they left when I was a little kid. So I'm like, remember when they were leaving, they sucked on purpose. Yeah. The Rams were ugly, man. Nobody would go to games, and then the Raiders, nobody would go to games because they were just bad. They were trying to leave. So I'm like, man, forget these people. So they left when I was like in junior high.
Yeah, you kind of take that personal too, man.
Well, because when you're a little kid, like you're watching games and you're like, dude, they suck. So when you're like 10, 11 years old, why do you want to root for somebody that sucks?
And then takes off on you.
It takes off. And
I don't know if you remember the Irwindale incident.
Yeah, when they were.
I don't know. You're a lot younger than me, but I took that real personal.
Well, remember, they were supposed to build in Irwindale. They were supposed to build in Carson, right by my house. They were supposed.
I don't know how true it is, Beto, but Irwindale gave him Davis $1 million.
They gave him
just
money
to consider, and he left with the money, bro.
That's it. That's why you're a Rams fan.
Huh? Yeah. I actually have Raiders tattooed.
Do you really?
And that Irwindale incident, that's it. I'm done.
Is that why you became a Rams fan?
Yes. I was always Raiders, Rams.
Yeah.
Now I'm Rams, Raiders. I still have heart love for the Raiders, but now they're over there in Vegas.
Yeah.
I hear if they lose if they start and they lose their opening game, they're going back to Pop Warner. That's what I heard. I don't know how true it is.
Oh, you couldn't wait to say that, huh?
That was my opening. But,
yeah, man.
So as you were fishing. Now that you're doing DAZN, you do pretty much every DAZN fight, no?
So I do a lot of the fights. So the way it works is, DAZN has Golden Boy, they have Matchroom, so I do the Golden Boy shows. So I work through there, and I'll do like I've mentioned the streaming, so I'll do the early cards, and then sometimes I'll fill in, depending on the level of the show, stuff like that. So it's fun to do, man. It's crazy how things have changed. Think about when you started refereeing, it would be just the only people who could watch you were the ones there. Now everybody is streaming everything. It doesn't matter how small the show is, how big the show is. It's being broadcast somewhere, right? Like you can watch a fight in South Africa. If you go watch in Thailand, whatever. Yeah. Like there's somebody putting something on the internet out there, man.
Exactly.
So that's why when people ask me like, oh man, like you did a Vegas show and now you're doing a small club show, I'm like, yeah, because you never know what might have. And plus, it's fun to do. Why am I gonna say no? Like, but have my own ego? Like, oh, I'm too good. I only do big shows.
And that's where I want to say, I'm not blowing smoke. That says a lot about your character. That, I don't know how true it is. I hear there's a ring announcer that won't do a small fight,
true.
but he'll do a big fight.
Absolutely, it's true. Bro. No, because a lot of people think like, okay, I get to this level, I deserve to be here. And obviously, you're going to get compensated a certain way.
Yes.
But, I mean, I get paid different ways because it depends on the type of show and stuff like that. But I won't turn down an opportunity to work because it's fun.
Exactly.
Like, if I'm not there,
I'm paid to do something.
If I wasn't there working, I'd probably be there watching anyways. Like, that's how much I love watching the best athletes in the world get after it.
I felt good that Jimmy Lennon Jr. did my opening announcement on my YouTube, and you know what? I'm not joking.
Great man, right there.
I'm not joking. for about a day, I was saying, how do I ask him? How do I ask him? You know, if he says no, how do I? Do I just thank you and hang up? I asked him. Before I could finish. No problem, Ray.
That is
within 20 minutes. He sent me a recording.
Jimmy Lennon Jr. is a saint, man. He is just the nicest person. And every time he sees you, he always asks, "How are you doing?" Right?
Yes.
Just super nice,
so humble, man.
And then so Jimmy will do a fight. Let's say on a Friday night. Like a big show here in Southern California, and then in the morning he's in Tijuana doing a fight, and then he'll be like somewhere in like these tiny little towns in Mexico, not because he needs the money, but because he loves doing it. Like
great man.
Yeah,
I got nothing bad to say about it. He's just a humble cat.
Superman.
His dad was. I remember his dad. I'm a lot older than you, but his dad, when he was wrestling, he was a commentator for wrestling, opening up for wrestling. Oh man, he was like, and it's a trip how he looks so much like his dad. Even though his dad was bald.
I've only seen it on YouTube, his dad, but I've heard so many great stories.
Same voice, everything,
just classy, man. He's just such a nice man. Whoever says anything bad about Jimmy Lennon is probably going to hell, bro. That person is bad.
Exactly, bro. So, are you still in football?
Yeah, so we'll be doing something like NFL gets going. I'll be doing some stuff. Depends on what game is here in LA.
So you're only going to be doing football in LA?
Yeah, only the games here in LA.
So you'll still be doing Rams then?
I'll do some Rams games, and then I'll do some Charger games. I know you don't want to hear that. So I'll be doing some games depending on the schedule. And then, but once October hits, that's when, so this year I'm going to be working primarily with the Lakers. So I'll do like the pregame and the postgame for radio for the Lakers. So that's going to take the priority. So I'll do some football in September. And once October hits, then it's all Lakers and stuff like that. So
I hope you get back on the Rams, bro, because you were awesome on that.
It was fun to do on Channel 2.
The way you brought humor when you were talking to the Rams. Who's the African American?
Jim Hill. Jim Hill's the best, man.
You guys would just, it was just back and forth, and I just dug that. I go, you know, Beto.
Well, you remember Jim because he would do HBO.
That's my day.
He would work for Don King. So he would do like the on the pay-per-views, he was the studio host.
Yes.
So he was on the desk, and then he was in Rocky 3.
Yes.
He's the one who asked Apollo Creed.
Exactly.
Clubber Lang, what's your prediction? Pain.
We got to get him in the movies now.
I want to do that. I want to get in the movies, bro. We got to get in there. We got to get you in there. I got to get rid of Chris Spanish and Gabe Rosado, bro. They were in Creed. We got to get rid of those guys. No, but it's fun. It's fun doing this job and then just going and talking to you guys. And I take a lot of pride in the preparation that I have. That's why.
So that was going to be my next question, Beto. Do you study before your fights?
Absolutely.
Or do you just go in?
No. You can't go in there and just like wing it because the audience is listening and you have a responsibility to the audience. If you're like, oh, I think he's like 10-6, and you're looking at your papers, it's like,
nobody wants to hear that.
Because it's not like, back to the respect factor, like, you have to show the fighter respect for who they are. Like, you don't ever want to be like, he hasn't fought in 3 weeks, and then you're like, or 3 months, and you're like, you look at it like, oh, let me correct myself, he fought 3 weeks ago.
That ain't cool.
Because the audience knows. The audience knows what's going on. They know who they are. But I do, so if there's a fight on Saturday, I usually start my prep Monday. A lot of them because, like, you're already gonna know the Canelo Triple G. It's the undercard guys I start doing the prep, and that I look at BoxRec, who they are, when they fought, and then I usually have to prepare for 12 different guys, so I'll do 6 fights, and then I go on their social media, see who they are, because their BoxRec might say one thing, but then you go and you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, that dude is training and he's sparring Munguia and Big Bear. Like, you want to give who these guys are, like, especially the younger fighters. Like when your son fought, I was like, I went back and looked and boom, 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 looked at his BoxRec. Okay, he had this, and try to do, I don't watch many fights, but I'll try to find like guys who have like a lot of knockouts. I try to go and look for those, like, okay, is this really a knockout power or is it a padded record? That way, because I don't want to be going, oh, this guy's a monster, all KOs, and then it's like, well, he's been fighting muertos that.
Found out he fought Ray Corona. That's a tomato can, eh?
No, not Ray Corona Jr., no. But like, when you're like, okay, he's been having.
About this Ray
Corona. Oh, this Ray Corona. I was like, damn, Ray throwing your kid under.
Towards the end of my wannabe career, Ben stopped me in sparring and said, hey, are you going to hit back or not? You know what I mean? I'm serious, bro. So, I mean, that's how bad it got, eh?
Ben, you're vicious.
He's looking for Ben.
Yeah, vicious man. But
so,
I do a lot of
study.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's fair to say for our fans. You know what? I always look like this. There's a fan up there that spent his hard work money to hear you commentate the fight that he came to see, that he spent, and he wants the best.
Yeah, and that's where, like, I have a database on my phone. There's an app that I keep where every single fighter that I've ever talked to, like you've seen it, where I go in the back and I talk to them, hey, because they give us notes for the bigger fights, but the smaller fights we don't. So I go back there like, hey, you lefty, you righty, where's you from, where's your mom's name, whatever, your sister, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I have like a little database on fighters that I have on my phone, and that's where I pull it up. So that's why I see guys, I'm like, oh, I saw you on a Thompson show, I saw you on a Marv Nation show, and guys are like, dude, how do you remember? And I'm like, because I have that link right there.
And you know what, Beto? I might be talking for them, but I know when you interview them, it makes them feel like I got to give it all now. You know what I mean? This guy acknowledged me, Beto acknowledged me, so I'm going to get in there and give it all.
That's why I like going to the B-side fighters, and you see these guys, like especially the Filipino fighters, right? You go up to them, you're like, hey man, I know you, and then they're like, I don't know, I was like, I had you 3 years ago on this show, and this is that, and they're like, what? Like, you know, sometimes the guys just get thrown in there like, you know, meat for the slaughter, right? And it's like, nah, you're a pro, I'm gonna respect you. But it's beautiful to see some of these young fighters when they first start off and they progress. Like one of them is like Alexis Rocha. I did his pro debut. You know, his pro debut was outside Canelo weekend in Las Vegas in the rain at T-Mobile Arena, and now he's on the door knocking for a world title. You know, like seeing the growth of these guys, and then you know, you want to give them something. Like you don't want to be the one like, oh, all of a sudden, right? You want to like give them the same respect. And there's a lot of other kids that you do their pro debut, and then after 3 fights, there's like, yeah, this ain't for me, right? Because it's a different, vicious world, man. The dedication. Animal. Yeah. So.
I can't speak on the future of Alex, but I've done 3-4 of his fights, and he's a very exciting fighter.
Yeah, he's fun, man.
He brings it, man.
All those guys do. And then you know, you can't get too close to these guys. Because at the end of the day, you have to be professional. Like, you're not friends with them, but you're professional, you're colleagues with them. And then you see them lose, it's just
like, tell it like it is.
Yeah, and these guys are telling me, like, dude, like, I thought we were homies. And I'm like, well, you suck today. Like, I didn't say you suck, but like, you know, you didn't bring it.
You didn't bring it.
And it's like, one thing I can never do is sugarcoat it, because then the audience is going to be like, you know.
That's where and that was my next question. Yeah. That's where you'll get haters.
Yeah, I mean,
now
every single fight I get told I suck. I don't care.
Do you really?
Oh, absolutely. Because
when I looked up your thing, I seen a lot of
these are the personal messages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so people tell me you suck, or you.
They didn't leave a name.
Oh no, no. Like I'm looking at JoJo's picture up here, and JoJo's a kid I've known before he even went to the Olympics, and great, rapport with him. I've hung out with him a lot of time. Great kid. You know, and his career hasn't gone the way that he wanted. Like he got to the top.
My personal opinion, this is just me, because he left Ben Lira. That's my opinion, you know? And you got to go back to basics.
Yeah.
What got you there? And I tell JoJo, mijo, go back to your basics, bro.
Yeah. And JoJo, you know, he's fighting his demons, and you wish him the best, and you pray for him and all that good stuff.
Everything, you know?
But he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and then, so we did a fight one time, and then I interviewed JoJo, and that's when he lost the belt on the scale. And I remember interviewing afterwards, I'm like, you lost your belt? And he's like, I don't care. I was like, how do you not care? Right? Then people...
but that was stomping his feet when he said
that. But it's like, he and I have a rapport where I can talk. I can ask him, and it's my job to ask these questions. So I got a lot of hate from people saying, you're a hater, you hate him, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, stop. But I'm like, okay. But then again, anytime I say something, only half the people are going to like what I say anyways. At the end of the day, if I say the truth, if I ask the real questions and I don't sugarcoat anything, I'm going to sleep fine. I'm going to look in the mirror, I'm going to be okay. Because my job is to be criticized, yours is to be criticized, and you can only please half the people half the time, right? So I don't worry about that. I worry about making sure I respect the fighter, and I make sure that I put their interests first, and I tell their story. That's why I always ask them their questions.
And this is why I say, even when I watch a fight and you're a commentator, I'm saying, Beto, ask him that. And you asked him that, you know what I mean? You want to know, why didn't you make weight? Or, you know what, was it hard to make weight? How do you feel today, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like...
You don't want to just say, oh, you're the greatest, you're the great. Yeah, I know that, bro.
That's what these professional athletes, fighters especially, if you kiss up to them, they don't respect you.
Exactly.
They want to be told, hey, you're honest with them 100%.
Get out of the comfort zone, fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you have to do, is like, you go back to the preparation. Like, these guys prepare hard for their fights. I should prepare as a broadcaster for their fights.
And that's why I think you're in the position you're in.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. That's why I go and talk to all the referees.
Plus you bring humor. I like humor.
It's fun. Well, not everybody does.
And me when I'm watching a fight, I need I need to giggle every now and then and laugh, or you're crazy, Beto, or you're a fool. You know what I mean? I don't need all that. Oh, dude, you know what I mean? That's me. You know.
That's why whenever I work. One of the things at Golden Boy, they always give the younger fighters an opportunity to learn how to be broadcasters. So I train a lot of the young kids, and it'll be the first time doing it, and they get done after the first fight, they're like, wow. And I'm like, bro, we got 5 more. Like, it's easy to be at home talking while you're drinking and tweeting up a story. Now you actually have to do the prep, and like, they're like, oh, this is fun. Or some guys are like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm going back to training.
Exactly.
I don't want to do this. But
I've seen it when some of the fighters commentate. You know, some got it and some don't. In that perspective,
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. That's why I like working with Gabe Rosado. He's really put it in the work. He's getting really, really good as a commentator, as an analyst. So it's good.
And I told Gabe, as soon as you retire, I need you on my podcast, bro.
Gabe will show. That's a good dude right there.
The executive officer, Andy Foster, I can only interview retired fighters and commentators.
Okay.
And you know what I mean? I got to keep it.
Yeah.
So nobody, you know.
Yeah, there's some things. It's like, that's why people are like, well, how come you don't do like a boxing show or anything like that? I'm like, no, because I'm going to be working their fights. I don't want it to be anything like that. That's why. That's why. So, let me ask you this. How many broadcasters come and talk to you guys? Not the podcast, just on fight nights.
None.
Just me, right?
That's the only one. Yeah, that's the only one.
Yeah.
Maybe what's his name? The snake.
Sergio Mora.
Sergio.
Yeah.
He's came and talked to me once in a great while. But yeah, you always.
So here, I'll tell you why I do that. So when I started off with Golden Boy, they wanted to have a ring reporter. You know, like how Jim Gray does that. But nobody really had it. You know, Jim would have it for the big fights, but not for the smaller fights. And one of my mentors, I asked them when I'm going to be doing this, and they're like, what you need to do is not worry about the fighters. You need to make sure that you know everybody behind the scenes. Make sure who's going on. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, kind of like in the NFL and the NBA and baseball, you're not allowed to talk to the officials. You can say hello, but they come in with their security guards and they keep them away because a lot of it has to do, they don't want anybody influencing them. So they don't want anybody from the teams coming to talk to them beforehand, or just to be isolated where they show up and that's it, right? And it's, now you start making sense because it might be, you know, somebody has gambling going on or whatever it is, or a coach might come up and say something, right? You just, it makes sense. So I'm not used to that world. Right. And then I'm like, all right, so I did that, and then because I was gonna be the ring reporter going around interviewing in the corners, I went to the commission the first time and I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm new here. So let me introduce myself. You're gonna see me running around talking to people. What can I do? What can I not do? Whatever it is. And then that's when, and then I'm just like one of those, like, I talk to everybody, right? You know this. But I was like, I want to know who the referees are, not to become, but like to get your name. How do you say your name right? And that's why I always say when the fight starts, I'm like, red corner, blue corner, and just like your podcast, third man in the ring, boom, I give credit to the referee. I'll give credit to the timekeeper in the beginning, because there's stuff that we go on, and if you don't know me, if you don't know who I am, and I'm asking you between rounds, like, hey, what happened there? You're like, I don't know if I want to tell you. Now you and I know each other 10 years, so I'm like, Ray, what happened? And you come over and you tell me headbutt or clash or whatever. Like, so that's what I was told early on, to go and talk to everybody. That's why I introduced myself to every judge, every referee. And a lot of times they were like, what do you want? What do you want? And I'm like, no, like,
I'm trying to get out of me or something.
And I always say, I'm gonna be on the broadcaster tonight. You're gonna see me running around. Cool, like, and then I tell myself the same thing to the security guards, like, you're gonna see me, don't stop me, bro, I'm doing the job. And then like, whether I'm in Canada or Mexico, wherever, I always introduce myself. So I always make sure to know the referees, and it's like, one, to know their name, how you say the right name, and in case something happens, like a clash or whatever, or something stops, like, I want to know what's going on.
And with that question, I mean, with that answer, I want to give that question. What do you think, you as a commentator, think about instant replay?
I like it.
From a 4-rounder to a 12.
I like it because the most important thing is, and you know this as a referee, you want to get it right. Exactly. You guys have the hardest job. I'm sitting ringside on the apron just like this, and it happens in front of me, and I can't tell if it was a punch or a headbutt. You have to make a decision like that. You have to rule if it was a knockdown like that, and you're watching a punch, the feet, tangle, go down, did the glove touch? I'm like, I don't envy you. I like that it gets done because you want to get it right. And it recently happened in the Virgil Ortiz Bohachuk fight in Las Vegas, where they had the knockdown.
That's right.
And it was ruled not a knockdown in the first round. They went to instant replay and they got it right. There was 2 of them that were ruled not, and then they at the end of the day, you want to correct it and get it right for the fighter, and it has to move fast. I actually did the first fight ever in Vegas where the Vegas Commission was using instant replay, and Jane 80 he told me he's going to have the hat, he had the light and everything else. I believe it was at Mandalay, I believe that's where it was at. But I remember we had to explain that there's instant replay available, and it happened again in Vegas where I think Ben might have been there. One of Abel's guys, he's from Uzbek, Kazakhstan, one of Abel's guys, Ruslan Mariov or something like that, whatever, he got involved, and there was a clash of heads, and Russell Mora was the referee, it was at the Hard Rock, and sure enough, because I knew Russell enough, I'm like, Russell, what's going on? He's like, I ruled it this way. But they had the replay, they went to it, I was able to interview Russell. Russell's like, I cannot do an interview on camera, but I can tell you. But that goes back to me having the rapport with Russell, trusting that, I'm like, Russell, is this what you're saying? He's like, yes, I wrote it down. This is what Russell Mora told me. Boom, they went to replay, they did it. And so I like it, the fact that you get it done right, and the fact that it moves quick. I don't ever want it to be slowing down.
To the fighter as well, you know?
Yeah, and a fight that's very, very close. If you lose by 1 point, and you had a 10-8 round and it doesn't go down as a 10-8 round, I mean, that's changing your career, changing your money, your future earnings, man.
Yeah, I'm all about it. Work hard. And it's a trip. Boxing, you could lose a fight and it throws you back to the back of the line.
Yeah.
Where in MMA, you could lose a fight and you're still going to fight for a title the next week. You know
I like that. Like, I like the fact that they have the instant replay. Get it done quick and let them know. That's it.
Awesome, yeah. So, what do you feel about the officials in California? Because I've refereed all over the world, but I only referee while
You've been all over the world doing this?
Yeah, I've been to Russia, Puerto Rico, Panama, Croatia, London.
Wow.
Mexico, God, countless of times.
That's through WBC or?
WBC and ABF. Suleiman really has, let me flourish out there. Okay. Unfortunately, I can't ever referee in Las Vegas.
So do you have
New Jersey because I'm an ex-felon.
For real?
Yeah. In the gaming states, you cannot be an ex-felon. But you know what? If that's God's plan for me, so be it.
The gaming states. Okay.
You know what? That's probably better.
But you understood.
Yeah, I understood. I just, that Andy Foster goes, Ray, we're going to take care of you right here. You continue doing the right thing, and I'll But yeah. With that said, how do you feel about our officiating in California? And before you...
No, I'll tell you this.
Don't cut me up.
No. I'll tell you this. The California, and not because I'm on the podcast with you, Ray, and not because Andy's going to be watching or anything else like that. I say this a lot, and other fighters have heard me say it. The California Commission is strict and super professional.
You sit up a little straight, right?
And they have to be.
Yes.
Because there's everybody's trying to pull a tranza on somebody, right? And whether it's like the reps or whether it's trying to get more ice or we're trying to do stuff in the corner, you need to have that at the end of the day to protect the fighter.
Yes.
Right? Both fighters.
It's only fair, man.
And I told the story earlier in Mexico, I was like, oh no, you're going to fight him and let's go. And it's like, what the hell's going on? Texas, I've done fights all over the United States, and I'll say this, California is probably the strictest but fairest when it comes to it. Even when I do fights in Northern California, you feel the same synergy, and I guess it comes from the top of the way it's done.
It's Andy Foster. He keeps all of us accountable. Andy, I've quoted this many times, and Andy straight out said this is in training 3 years ago. You bring shame, he's talking to the officials, you bring shame or embarrassment to California, you will not work. Well, until you give an explanation, you go back to training, and he keeps us on our game.
At the end of the day,
we have officials from all over the world coming to our training.
Yeah, good.
Jack Reese and Tom Taylor.
Yeah, that one they do. I want to do that. Yeah. I don't know you feel the same way. As an official, you never want to be the story.
That's right.
As a broadcast, if nobody knows you were there, you did a great job.
Hey,
I'm a former official. You know that, right?
For where?
I paid through college. At the age of 15, I started off as a soccer referee. I remember I worked at the park. So I refereed soccer, baseball, basketball. I even did high school football, high school softball. That's all through in college. So I know what it's like to be an official where everybody hates you. And I'm like, nah, I'm right, bro. That kid is out. I don't care that you're yelling at me. But at the end of the day, you don't want anybody to know that you're the story. And I know officials feel the same.
The best compliment you could give me is, you did that fight?
Yes.
You refereed that fight?
Perfect. That's exactly it.
Thank you, you know what I mean?
And I know that for major fights, it's, promoters or fighters are like fighting over who is going to do the fight, whether it's judges, referees, stuff like that. But you guys, California, it's no joke, and it should be that way. Because I've gone to other states and it's like, okay, we're gonna have that's kind of night. Like you just know, or you have other officials where they show up and it's like, boom, I'm here, I'm the star, and it's like, okay,
that ain't cool.
Well, because I'm doing that, I introduce them. If I don't know, I'm like, hey, I'm doing the broadcast, can't talk to you. I'm like, okay, cool.
It's funny,
but let me say this to you. I'm the broadcaster tonight, and I always ask them, I'm like, cool, I know you can't talk to me. How do you say your name? You don't need that. I'm like, all right, bro. Wow. I've had that a couple of times, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, I just want to make sure I say your name right. And he's like, it's fine. I'm like, okay, I've had that a couple of times in different states. Because they're on the defensive right away. And I'm like, dude, if you're on the defensive with me, how are you going to be in a fight?
And
sure enough,
Foster straight out said, we will address our issues. If something happens, and you will address it.
Yeah.
You know what? If I have to speak on your behalf to defend you, you will be disciplined.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's no joke, bro. He'll break bread with you after.
Yeah.
But man, he'll sit you down, brother. Yeah. I don't care, from Jack to Tom to, and one thing, to toot our own horn, even Jack, when he gets out, Jack and Tom are probably the top referees in the world.
They're great.
Tom gets out to this day and still get out of the ring and say, is there anything I could have done better, Ray?
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Great.
And if if you think you've reached that level, then you're lost.
For the fans who don't know, after every single fight, you guys do a debrief.
Yes.
Like, and I see it because
sometimes you walk in there like, oh my God.
Because it'll be like where our dressing room is at sometimes. So I'm over there walking in and I'm like, oh damn, I got to get my bag. And you just kind of huddle in and you're hearing.
Feel the tension.
You hear like your inspectors being talked to, and I'm like, oh, let me get my bag, let me get out of here.
Yeah.
Let me get out. But it's professionalism, because people think you just get in the ring and then you leave, you go straight to the bar. Nah, you're in there, you guys are being debriefed, and then I'm pretty sure you guys get your report card, you get this, you get that, and like, it's hard. It's hard for you. I do not envy you guys at all, and ladies out there.
Yeah. With that said, Beto, let me see, what's my last question here? So, I always ask all my guests, what's your favorite music?
Oh man, so I'm not a big.
If you were driving home right now in the traffic,
it's a trip. So I'm not a big music guy. I don't have just one, but it's funny. Like, so my kids hate this because they don't ever hear the same kind of thing. They're like, "What are you playing today?" So, like the playlist is just a mix, bro. Because you'll have like the Spanish music, and then you'll have the freestyle, and then you have the Stevie B, and then you have
the same way.
Then you have like the Led Zeppelin going on, and then you have the classical. So it's just
I even started listening to country a few weeks ago.
Right. So like in many ways, I'm always like, oh, you want to go to a country concert? Hell no, I ain't going to that. But then you start listening, you're like, well, he's complaining about the same thing we do in Spanish, bro. So it's
that program on TV, Yellowstone.
Yeah. Oh, that you've been watching that?
Yeah.
Dude.
And for some crazy reason, my wife bought me a cowboy hat, bro.
You got one? You got the Tejana?
Yeah.
You ready to go?
With my boots.
You ready to go Pico Rivera now? You went to the sports arena?
No, not yet.
No, but you've done fights there.
Yeah.
Where's the craziest fight you've done?
Oh man, I can't think of it right now, but
I got one for you. I did it. I was in Obregón, Mexico, Sonora. Right? They told us, oh, we're gonna go to the arena. I walk up, we're driving up, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is like tiny, bro. Like, where are the people gonna be at? It was the Palenque where they do the cockfighting. I look down, and I'm like this. I'm like, oh man. They told me, yeah, you just wear a polo, you're fine. I look down, and I'm like kicking the dirt around, and I'm like, oh, bro, like that little chicken feeder right there. I'm like, was this yesterday? And sure enough, there was a cockfight in the arena the day before. And I'm like, dude, this is fun. Oh, this is fun. I love those little stories.
Like, put it in the backyard if they have to.
So, and then the week later, I'm in Toronto, and I'm doing it on top of a hockey rink.
Wow. So you're a traveling man too, huh?
Yeah, if you have a microphone, I'll go, bro. So the one I did like, I think a year and a half ago, I did this crazy trip where we did fights in Costa Rica. So we had a fight somewhere on the East Coast to Costa Rica, did a fight, and I jumped on the very first flight to go to Toronto. So I did like, I don't know how many miles. I was on the East Coast down in Costa Rica.
Continent. No?
Yeah, but then I had to clear customs like 3 times in 2 days, and I got home. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at right now, but that was. People were telling me, how'd you do? I was like, well, I'm not the one fighting, so I'm not that hard, right? And then people were like, well, the travel, I'm like, I'm not the one flying, I just sleep on the plane. So that was a good adventure. But every time there's an adventure, I'm ready down. I'll do whatever.
So my other one is, so the fans want to know what's your best food? What's your favorite food?
Man, let me tell you this. Like, there's nothing like Mexican food, of course, especially if you're at your mom's and you're good. Like, but Italian food is my favorite.
You like Italian?
I love Italian food.
You're not fat though, bro.
Oh, I'm fat from where I was.
Carbs, bro.
From where I was 10 years ago, the Italian food's kicking in. Olive Garden's kicking in. No, but I love Italian food. I was in Italy.
Don't say that to Max.
Why?
The judge. Oh my God.
Max DeLuca?
Yeah, you tell him.
Olive Garden?
Yeah, he'll cut you, bro.
Oh, well, I don't go there. I go to the real ones.
Yeah, don't you ever say Olive Garden was Italian food? I go,
oh, is it? Oh, I'm going to tell him that.
Clown him,
I can't wait, because I always see Max all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell him. I was in Italy last month, and just like the food there was just amazing. Like, I've been in Italy twice, and it's just like amazing. That's what I got to do. I haven't done that. I need to do a fight in Europe. I haven't done a broadcast of a fight in Europe.
Hasn't came your way.
I don't think I'm going to, because they have their own people, right? They don't speak English.
No, we'll put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, like, England would be fun, but like, I want to do, like, once I'm like retired or something, like doing fights in Italy, just like yelling at people right there. Like, Italy is just amazing. I love it there, man. I'll go there.
Awesome. Well, before we go, Beto.
Already? We're done?
Yeah.
Damn.
I do them short, bro. But tell your people how to follow you.
Yeah. All right. Instagram, Beto Vision. Twitter, Duran Sports. But nobody uses Twitter. But just use the Instagram, Beto Vision. Just like my name, but television.
When's your ESPN show on?
So I do Mondays. I'm on ESPN Radio at 10 a.m. And then I'll do the Lakers pre and post. Once the Lakers season starts. And then like all my stuff on Instagram, I always post where I'm at. I do CBS, I think. Sometime in September. Wait, it is September, huh? I don't even know. See, this is how we are. We don't even know the dates anymore.
Really. You're not even my age yet, so you got to watch out, bro.
Man, it's the pasta. It's Olive Garden kicking in. You having fun doing this?
Always, bro. I love it.
It's getting better. It's better and better every single time, man. Y'all, you got a microphone and everything, Ray.
That's right. That's right. Hey, with that said, guys, I want to thank you, Beto, for coming on, bro.
It's been an honor being on here, bro.
We got to do it again.
Absolutely.
I make them short and sweet, guys. So yes, so we can have Beto on again. But
let's do it.
Make sure you follow him. Now that they see you, can they walk up to you and say hello, take a photo?
Nah, because you're gonna mess up my makeup.
That's
bro.
right.
You can't mess up my makeup.
Don't touch anything. He walks around. You guys walk around when you're putting the makeup, with a little white.
Yeah, and then if I'm wearing the velvet, bro, you can't mess with the velvet, bro. No. Just no. I'm like Ray, man. I'm like this. I love when you're like this.
Yeah. So hey, guys, share this content. Go on YouTube, Third Man in the Ring. Subscribe. Say goodbye to our good friend Beto, and we'll be seeing you. God bless, guys.